recording is now going. Here we go. Welcome everybody back to the Energy for Sales podcast. Tim Hooper and David Oliphant, your hosts, where we believe if we're not having fun in sales, we're doing it wrong. And guys, if you didn't hear, if you weren't able to tune into Sam Trimble's episode with us about finding, like leaning into your influence, finding your voice and stepping up to speak, go check out the recording. Now, some questions came in around speaking around this topic throughout the month, and also a few during the chat that Sam addressed most. But David, there were a few others that I thought we would unpack together. But before we do, I like the quote by Joseph Hubert, and he said basically, and I'll put this in the chat, to teach is to learn twice. To teach is to learn twice. And Sam said it. He said, you know, your industry, there are things they want to know about and learn about. And when you say, yes, I'll come and speak on that, you've got to dig in and do the work. You've got, so you're really, David, I told you this a long time ago when we were thinking about doing a podcast. I'm like, I could care less if nobody listens. Now, I really want people to listen, but so I got to learn how to, present topics that are relevant, and we'll get to that. But at the end of the day, if you and I schedule this and we do a podcast and we bring a talk that we think is going to matter and we unpack it a little bit, I will learn and I will grow. And you did that too. And then we kind of got off track a little bit and we didn't do it. And you called me one day and you said, man, I miss doing the podcast with you. Like that was like my education. That was like my time to learn, to really unpack something. So, I mean, talk about that for a minute, like to teach us to learn twice. And
yeah, I had not heard that quote before, but spot on. Yes. When we got onto other things, we didn't stop working. We stopped doing podcasts. We developed other things, but it was becoming a glaring hole, in my day to day. The beauty of the podcast, we each are leading teams. We're in the field. It's from the trenches to the trenches. We talk about things that are happening in real time, and we sharpen our saw. And my saw was getting dull because we were not sharpening it. We were not collaborating. We don't always agree eye to eye on everything. I think that's part of the beauty of it. Most things we do, there's some core tenets that we're always going to be aligned on. Sometimes the how and the why, are a little off, but that's the beauty of it. But yeah, I mean, I love teaching. I'll give you an example. One of the people that I still mentor was on my team, has gone to two separate companies, is actually with a competitor. Meet with him twice a week. So he and just got married this past year. His wife is super sweet. And so they reached out to me on Thursday. Did I have some time? Because she was applying for a new job, and it's a data-driven company, and got this incredible case study scenario that she had to break down all these different solutions and these data, and the company that you're going to be presenting to is all these other parameters. They were losing the past 2 years. Their NPS score was going way down. Their competitor was going up. They weren't in recycled clothing. The competitor was. And so the ability just to break all of that down and help her with the proposal. She's going to have 20 minutes. She knew what the budget was. She knew she was going to have to go over budget. And just that was so much fun to me to help her present that. They called me on Friday. I was at a conference, got off the conference floor. They called me. It so blew them away. They offered her a job on the spot. The way so that's what I was missing. The reason I'm telling the story is that's what I was missing is the interaction of growing people, talking about sales and sales development and personal development.
And sometimes, again, the talk or the training you do might not feel like, and I would just want to level set with everybody listening. It may not feel like it's earth shattering to you. But like Sam just left us with, he said, if I brought one thing or two things that could change something for you, I've done my job. There are things, the way you go about it, the way you do it, the way you see it, that will absolutely unlock breakthroughs for people in the room. So don't discount yourself. I think the biggest thing is go, like Sam said, go say yes. Go find out who needs some help. Rotaries, things around the community and real estate. There's maybe a mortgage broker, a bank in town that a referral partner, they've got a existing sales meeting set. By saying, hey, can I come pitch our company to you? You're going to get a no every time. But to say, hey, I have these 3 talks I do, one's on Google reviews, and really I just break down my own process on how I have taken mine from 6 reviews to 150, or just something you do well, and just go break that process down. You're going to get a yes every time. And then you're going to get in front of people. And at the end of the slides, you're going to have your QR code, or you're going to have your like connect with me or call me. It's the best way to get in front of 20 people all at once and get some hand raisers. So just get it scheduled. Number one, my running coach told me, always have a marathon on the books. If you always have a marathon on the books, you can't not run in the morning if that's your goal. So go get a talk on your books, and then just lean into it. Now, a couple of questions from this industry that we've received. And the first one is this: I'm not an attorney, and I'm afraid of getting asked a question by, a real estate agent or a loan officer. I'm afraid of getting that question I don't know. How do I overcome this fear? And are there any public speaking pitfalls in the real estate mortgage industry? Well, first and foremost, 100%, yeah, there are pitfalls. If you're a title company, you don't practice law. Like, don't make stuff up. Don't try to practice where you're not supposed to practice. Like, there's clear lines of demarcation here. But here's what I will also say. Sam said it. Who am I getting up? Am I trying to impress people? If I get a question, and I think it's why Sam actually pushed back on you, Dave, a little bit about the panel.
Yeah.
If I get a question I don't know, I'm going to simply say something like, I think I know, but I want to get back to you on that one because I want to run it by my attorney on staff. You can take what I just said and spitball that 15 different ways and come up with your own way of comfortably saying that. I've been on a panel before where I got a question and I looked to my left and looked to my right, and I just chuckled and said, does anybody else want to take that before I make up? And everyone starts laughing. And then one person asked me about the economy. I'm not even an economist. So I broke into some motivational Stephen Covey on them. And everyone came up afterwards and was like, that was the best thing I've ever heard. I'm so sick and tired of hearing about the economy. So instead of trying to make stuff up, or instead of trying to feel pressure that I had to have the answer, I just decided honesty is the best policy. I don't know. I'm going to make something up. You go with that? Or not on law. I was talking about the economy. If it's legal, right. I've got an ESQ on staff. I think I could answer, but that might lean. I'm going to get them scheduled. Let's connect right after this. I've had people line up after a talk or a panel to get their name and number. I'm like, see me after this. Just remember, you're in control. You're adding value. You're there. Don't let a question or fear pull you out of control. It's just control. No, I don't know, but can you see me right after this? Does anybody else have that question or a similar question? And look around. 2 more people. Okay, y'all see me after this. I want to get your information and get back to you on that. Great. All right. And then move on to the next. So just don't fear that. You're in control.
Have you ever queried, in that scenario, have you ever queried the audience to see if someone was a subject matter expert on that? I mean, you talk about bringing in the crowd
So David, it's interesting you say that. So I did a claims talk, and I'm not a claims attorney, but there was this young attorney, bright. In fact, she still calls me every 2 weeks. Hey, do you have an opening there? I want to work with you again. She's fantastic. I wish she was in sales because she's really good. But she wanted to speak. And so I said, hey, we're going to do this. The Tennessee Land Title Association, we're going to apply. I want you to speak. Oh, I'm freaked out. I'm like, well, tell you what, we'll do it together. So we did. And we put together this great claims, mitigating claims, the risk of claims. We did this talk. I'm not a claims attorney. Now, I brought some of the stories, I brought some of the humor, and then I built kind of the overarching how I would see it going. But we did this fun interaction where people scanned the QR and threw questions up on the screen, and it was this word cloud thing. But anyway, we were talking about seller impersonation fraud. And she was, again, a newer attorney, didn't have all the experiences to pull from. So we leaned out into the crowd, and this attorney stood up and she broke down the whole process on how her company was tricked, almost wired the money, and boom, boom, boom. She like literally she stood up and I actually asked her. So then boom, all of a sudden we had this conversation. Now, be careful if you're just first time leaning in, like the conversation could go run away. You need to also remember pull people back on track.
Right.
So just again, don't fear a question you don't know. Just have a plan, have a good contingency plan. So that's a great question. Thanks for sending that one in, guys.
And
David,
a lot of times in a sales process, we're faced with the same scenario. Now, granted, we're not live and in person and, 100 people, 50 people expecting, holding their breath, waiting for you to speak next and answer it. But it is
which
the
they're
same
really
scenario.
not.
I like the way you answered it. And I did, when Sam shared his opinions, there is safety in numbers sometimes on the panel, and having an orchestrated of these are the type of questions that I might, if they come up, then I'm going to have to go left or right because I'm not the expert on. So that preparation and that, coming across as a well-oiled, solidified panel.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. So just again, being able to pivot, being able to hand the question off to somebody on the panel, being able to, if you're solo, saying, hey, let me get back to you. See me after this training. Got to stay on track. Sometimes I'm just like, hey, for sake of time, like that's another good one. Hey, for sake of time, I want to give a good, thorough answer. For sake of time, see me right after this. So just again, contingency planning on those. Here's another question that came in. I don't want to come across, and Sam talked about this a little bit, but David, I want your perspective on this. I don't want to come across as a know-it-all or braggy. Is there a certain attitude I need to work on when preparing to speak?
So if posed with a question, a lot of time, if you can cite other folks, true subject matter expertise, it's kind of like the difference between a trusted advisor and a subject matter expert. Now you need to probably live somewhere in the middle. But I think it's if you're genuine, and it's how you answer the questions. Sometimes it's how you come across. From what I've learned, from what I've experienced, I think, if you speak to something through your experiences, then I think human to human, people are less, oh, that guy thinks he knows everything. No, he's just sharing his perspective or her perspective from the things that they have faced. Doesn't mean it's 100%. So I don't know. What are your thoughts on that? I mean,
well, the question came in. I know who sent this question. And so I also know they are the least braggy and the least know-it-all person. So I think if you're worried about that one, I would say that's a great thing. Like Sam said, if you're a little nervous, that's probably good. Because you understand you're stepping up to speak to some people, impact some people. And so you want to be prepared. You don't want to fly by the seat of your pants. So if you're worried about being braggy or a know-it-all, you're probably in a good spot because you're probably not going to come across that way. If you're not even worried about that, you might want to have a gut check. But I do think, again, the person who sent this in, I think it's coming from a place of we've all heard those speakers who just turn us off in the first 5 minutes. I think we all fear that one because we've been probably burned or we've experienced somebody who just really gets so really more, I think, define, like Stephen Covey says, sometimes it's easier to figure out who you want to be if you first determine who you don't want to be. So if you don't want to be a know-it-all or braggy, well then how about who can you think? Like if you're going to share a story where you were the winner or something, who could you think? Who's the mentor that helped you get there? Instead of saying, yeah, I went and did this and this and this perfectly, and I did all my goals. Maybe you did. Maybe that's just you're like the unique 1% in all humanity and did. Maybe though, talk about how you stubbed your toe along the way or fell off the routine, or like maybe share. Again, it goes back to that we impress with our strengths, we connect to our weaknesses. So I think just if you're already there worrying about it, you're probably in a good spot. The attitude, I think, is staying humble and then also staying grateful and then graceful. I think some people too, I think they throw in a lot of like cursing and things, and some people have that style, some people don't. I think sometimes we just need to check our ego from time to time. And don't ever be in the room thinking I'm in the room because I'm so good. there's somebody better than all of us out there, and there's something we can learn from everybody. So I would rather be in the room to do good, and to add value instead of because I'm good and because I think I'm so valuable, because that's the fastest way to become irrelevant when you start resting on your laurels. So hopefully that attitude
Yep.
answers the question. But
Yeah, and to your point, if you have those concerns, you're probably in the right place because you're not a person. The ego is the the devil, and we've all been in those scenarios where someone does come across that way. But graciousness, like you mentioned, humble, humility, have
yeah,
fun with it.
yeah. Yeah, just show some of your flaws. We're all human. It's awesome. I mean, just again, guys, go check out Sam's podcast. I mean, we had Sam on for a reason. He's very genuine and just a great guy in my life, in David's life. All right, let's go here. Can I use public speaking to enhance my personal brand? Sam really did talk about that one really well. So go check that one out. I think absolutely yes, 100%. But again, your personal brand, I think, will find you more than you ever could have imagined if you'll just go start speaking. Like, you will get feedback, and if you're listening, you'll get feedback. You will hear from people something you never even thought your talk was about. They will come up. David, I had a real estate agent come to me last week in Richmond, pull me into the corner and cried on my shoulder. And her brother had just passed away. He was a cardiologist. Something happened with his heart. Like, no one expected it. And it was a shock. And she's battling depression. And she literally has signed up for 7 or 8 things, and she hasn't attended. Like, she just will sign up and not go. And that morning, she just felt this prompting, like, be in the room. She was in the room, and just something that was said, again, just a little bit of, a story of how I had struggled to do certain things. She came up, and afterwards, and like, we're connecting. I sent her my book. I told her to read the story, the chapter about my brother passing and like my reset, my awakening. So now we're like, but that was unexpected for me. And so,
Mm-hmm.
and David, I've told you this personally when we have coffee just one-on-one. There were certain things of my story that I try to like push back or hide, or like, oh, I don't necessarily think that will resonate. The more I speak and become comfortable, the more I'm pulling out, because I'm those are the things that people actually draw strength from and actually overcome. Like, people get on video when they know my struggle, my personal, my deep, dark secrets. They'll actually do the technical stuff of the talk when they first. So I think instead of trying to use your talk to build your personal brand, use your talk to feel out what's resonating with your audience, and really lean into, because your audience will tell you the goal, the gift you bring to the room. Some of us don't even know that. And it's not a prideful thing. This is like, I want to maximize my gifts, my calling, my potential. And so, like, just be in the room, talk honestly with people, and then get their feedback. And it's like, wow, that spoke to you.
Yeah,
So
I think
cool.
also your brand is much larger than that. Leading a team through an organizational change internally with new upward leaders, and I've shared with them, it gives an opportunity to begin to build your brand all over again, and the opportunities. And how are you going to build your brand? I build mine on being thankful and helpful and results driven, someone that can be trusted. I
Hmm.
think that it can add to that, but your personal your brand is Sam touched on this. Your brand is what other people feel and receive and think of you.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so it can be, I think it can be a component, but really the type of person you are, how you help others, what drives you, um, uh, are you somebody that they want to be around?
Well, you've always been thankful. You've always helped me lift in my life, and lift off, and also the results, focus on results. So David, that's
And
absolutely
spiritually,
great.
I mean, we've had conversations and topics where we've both been in tears.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
100%.
to your point of now bringing that stuff forward in your speaking,
Yeah.
all, all it does is make you more human.
Absolutely. Absolutely. One of the other questions was, let's see here. Let me get this question first. So, Can I incorporate storytelling in sales presentations, or is that just for the main stage? So I think the key here, the person asking this question, I think was talking about like when they go in and they're doing more of a smaller setting conference room sales presentation at a brokerage or whatnot, as opposed to there's a story, personal story, whatever that you would share, like more like from a keynote perspective, you're main staging it. I think that for thousands of years we've been connecting with stories. I'm not the story expert by any stretch of the imagination, but I do know that my speaking coach a long time ago said two things: if you can incorporate a story or stories, smaller stories or one large story, and then also get people to laugh. So I know sometimes as an icebreaker in a smaller setting, like a dad joke or something like that, get people to laugh, ha ha ha. And then you go in and say, no, seriously, guys. So I'll give a quick example to this. So we're down in Fort Lauderdale. Our company president, Joe Grealish, I've never met him before. He walks in, CEO or president of a Fortune 500 company. You're expecting it's like boom, boom, boom. I mean, we are a results driven, a profitable. We lead the industry in profitability and wise business decisions and scalability. And so he walks in, you're expecting that, right? And he talks about how he met, and I forget the guy, the heavyweight champion, and how he bumped into him by accident and what the lesson he learned from that. But he talks this story for 10 minutes. He only had 15. He tells a story for 10 minutes, which pulled everybody in, this heavyweight champion. And then boom, at the end, he brought the point home about why he told the story. So that was only 15 minutes. But I remember probably more than had he went through a list of like, this matters, these are all this stuff. So you need to gauge like what the setting is, what's the outcome, what are you driving for? But I do think oftentimes less is more. Our human brain has way too much shoved at it every day anyway. So if there's even a matter of, do I tell a story or not? I would probably err on the side of telling a story, because a story is going to stick with people. Whereas your points are going to be 7 points that by the end of their day, they probably already forgot. Now, could you give a story and then here's my 7 points, jot these down and give a quick, you got to fill that out. But I think to the question here, a story on the main stage is powerful. A story in a smaller setting is just equally as powerful. You might shorten it up a bit. You might go bigger if you have a longer stretch of space. But storytelling is absolutely powerful. I use it in both places. David, I'll let you end with this one. What do you do with your team?
No, I think it is good. You do have to play what your relationship, if any relationship with the group, how large is the group, can you keep their attention? The larger the group, it's harder to keep everyone's attention. So maybe brevity would be a plus. Though in that setting, if you can tell a story about a client, the depth of a relationship with your client or something that you help them through,
Yeah.
Maybe with your solution and your service, or maybe without. It's not really a feel, felt, found. You could get into a little feel,
Right.
felt, found.
You could tell a story around feel, felt, found. Yes. Yes.
So,
absolutely.
yeah, I think that, larger groups, not on a stage, I'm talking about in the room for discovery or a decision or a presentation, maybe the brevity of it will be helpful, because you don't want to lose your audience too much.
Yeah. One other thing too, and as we end, Sam mentioned, and just kind of a little technical tip here. If you're talking to that training coordinator or the events planner or whomever, if you're going to speak, I think arming yourself with some questions of, hey, David, what defines like a win for you through this event? Or if I come to speak, what are you hoping that your business affiliates get out of this? Like asking them some questions, they can also guide you on like, hey, we've been really sticking with this theme, or we really have been wanting to hear about this, or our feedback has been this, or like you can really get through or get from those training coordinators some feedback that will also help guide you as you build a talk. So, and then one other thing too is, put your talk together. If you're not a big PowerPoints person, or if you're not good at putting a PowerPoint together, someone on your team probably is. But as we end, if you're interested in any form of like training or technical, like how to put a really good PowerPoint together, Andrew, he's probably the PowerPoint king when it comes to, in my perspective, on our team. So anyway, if you're interested, just drop in the chat, the comments of the YouTube or whatever, and we'll connect with you and get you some guidance there. But thanks for being with us today, sticking around. Join us next month. We have some exciting things planned. Just get on your calendar, and again, shoot Sam a connection over on LinkedIn or on Instagram or Facebook, and connect with him. He's always dropping great stuff. Connect with David and me over on LinkedIn as well. We'd love to hang out with you there. And David, as always, man, let's go have some fun in sales.
Let's do it. Take care,
Take care.
everyone.
See you guys.